there was an article, if you can find it, and if you can't, I have a copy, so don't worry, I can send it to you. There was an
Okay.
article that came out. So right after the Vegas shooting, I had the number 3 single in the country
Hmm.
behind Taylor Swift and Pink. It was called What the Heart Don't Know. And I get invited by John Rich from Big and Rich to come to Route 91 to perform before, what became one of the worst mass shootings in American history. I'm performing on stage. We leave, mass shooting occurs. I'm all over the news the next day, all over the news. And heartbreaking why I would even be in the news. But of course, that exact week, now that I'm trending and in the news, she was there and the shooting. Pussycat Dolls are doing a reunion, and it was a press release that was put out by, I'm pretty sure, who runs the Dolls, which is none of us, okay?
Hmm.
That the Pussycat Dolls are coming back together, and it was picked up by Cosmopolitan. And that's when I said, you didn't even call me to ask. You've pretended like I was never a part of this, but now that I'm trending, you're going to use what I went through to relaunch what you already made so much money. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I said, you know what? No, I'm not gonna just be like, okay, you know what? I said, Twitter, here we go. And at that point, I just went, this is the truth, because I wanted people to finally hear what I knew I walked through and I felt I was never going to be able to speak on. And I just owned it and walked through it. Had no idea at the time there were other women in the industry that had been fed up from other people,
Hmm.
Harvey Weinstein and this one. And the next thing I knew, it was like a Me Too movement. I'm like, I didn't even know I was part of a Me Too movement. I was just saying what felt was like, how could you do that? How could you use 58 dead people to talk about the Dolls? And you didn't even call me. You didn't even text me. In fact, you tried to belittle my involvement. And so, because it says in this article, Nicole Scherzinger, Kai Jones, Melody Thornton set to rejoin. And so where did they get that from?
Oh wow! So they just like she used like the CEO, like the search engine optimization CEO. Yeah, just essentially your name was trending, so they decided to throw it in that article, so that article would hop on to whatever is
And I
trending.
just felt like I had been used enough.
Yeah.
I had been used enough. And that's okay. Everyone in business utilizes or uses people. Some do it better than others. Has the Dolls helped my career? Of course, because I wouldn't be here talking to you if it hasn't. But did I help the Dolls? Of course I did. I helped with that sound, which is why when I left the Dolls, it was really hard, because then it was like, well, who are you? And then everything I did, it was like, oh, you sound like the Pussycat Dolls. Well, of course I would, because I was a part of that. And then who am I? So then I was constantly given the same kind of music, and I didn't want that. I was ready to release the energy. Was the beginning of me talking about that inner light, that power. That was my way of talking about God. By the time I got to Rise of the Phoenix, it was like, okay, through the ashes, maybe they'll start to see I'm trying to talk about God. And so it was always these steps of trying to talk about what had saved my life, because when I walked away from the Pussycat Dolls, I was also walking away from Nick Carter. That was my boyfriend. And people don't know that. I was in this massive relationship with Nick Carter, and he was having these accusations of rape, and all of these things
Yeah.
were going on, okay? And beating Paris Hilton, and all of this drama. Nobody knew that. Nobody knew that I was going through drama in the Dolls, and at the same time walking through a traumatic, horrific breakup when I had to leave him. And I was not welcomed in Hollywood. And I remember when my record Hollywood Doll was first played in Hollywood, and that was Shishi LaRue. That was the gay community that finally said, we know what's up and we'll support our girl. And they did. And that's kind of also why it's been so hard with so many of my friends and family in the gay community becoming more and more vocal about my conservative beliefs and structure, where they're like, you've changed. And I'm like, I still love you. I haven't changed, because I'm not God. I can't judge anyone. I mean, I'm a sinner. I'm Barabbas. I've had forced abortions because of the music industry. So who am I to judge you? I just want to be happy and live in this grace that I found. And I want to share that with the world. And that's all it is. So yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a
Yeah.
journey.
Well,
Yeah.
Nick Carter and I actually had a pretty bad feud back in December. His wife was messaging my father. They were trying, because my father and I have the same name. So they were trying to get to me, messaging him. My dad was sending pictures of guns to them saying like, come on over here. And it was so bad because I made a video about some of the accusations on Nick Carter
Oh my
and
God.
it did really well. So it got him really upset. So like he, and when you said his name, I was like, oh, he's like one of those only people out there that I really have had gone at it with. But he
No,
would have
I was
sued me
close
if
with
I,
Aaron. I became very close with Aaron. So Aaron
yeah.
was like my brother. I took that death horribly hard. I'm still not over it. Um, he was just awesome. And he knew who people were and he stood up for who he was and he got belittled for it. He
Mhm.
really did. And I just, that's why I wanted, if I can change the world, it's to love people so that maybe that love can just trickle more into an industry that's filled with really hateful, evil stuff. And I
Mhm.
don't believe it's the person, I believe it's spiritual. So when I look at a situation, I'm like, well, I don't hate Robin or I don't hate Nicole. It's spiritual. If they're walking in this alignment with this wicked way, which any of us can, we're
Mhm.
susceptible to it. So it's a daily process of like, I'm going to choose love. I'm going to choose love. And that's hard because there are times where, you know, you
Yeah.
don't want to choose
It's
love
all
because
temptation. I totally get it.
yeah. So, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but I'm not surprised because I know some things.
Yeah. He chose that path, the darker path.
Yeah, if you knew how that breakup even happened, I had to choose between him and God. That was actually the choice.
Mm.
And that was the saddest day of my life. It wasn't he hit me, it wasn't he cheated on me, it wasn't he was mean. It was nothing like that. And so you love somebody, but they basically tell you, I need you to be this way for me or nothing. And I was just like, I can't do that. Like that goes against my my faith. My
Mhm.
religion actually says that that's like the worst of the worst thing. Like I can't do that. I can't and I won't.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I'm glad that you're super aware of like your spiritual side because a lot of people sometimes in Christianity they don't recognize the spiritual aspect of it as
Right.
far as like the darkness and such. I mean, was there a moment, and this is kind of a out there question, but like
Mhm.
Illuminati, like putting
Oh my
writing your
gosh.
name in the book, like when you just said this, I was like, oh my gosh, did Nick Carter like try to make her sell her soul, and that's why she couldn't? Do you think that type of stuff is real?
Do you see my face? I'm like, yeah, there's not, so it wasn't anything spoken. It was that you're put in situations to do things that are really, really wicked.
Mhm.
And like everyday average people, if I was to even explain it, would be like, so much so that I've never talked about it because I felt people would judge what I had walked through and be like, why were you with someone like that? Or why were you in an industry like that? Or why were you working with people like that? I mean, telling someone you have to get rid of your child when you're pregnant, that's sacrificing your child for fame. That's
Mhm.
putting your kid on an altar. And you can say that that's satanic. You can say it's ritualistic. You can say it's selfish, it's self driven. There's nothing, the thing about having a child is it's a
Mhm.
selfless act where you're putting your baby before you. And I was never allowed to do that. And so, yeah, I was put in some situations that were pretty wicked. I remember one specific time I had done an interview and they had asked me, what do I think it means? It was Tommy Lahren. She's like, what does it mean to be a conservative? And I was like, I don't really know. I mean, I didn't really see myself as conservative per se, but I said, I support our veterans, our military. I voted for Trump, and yeah, I pray to Jesus. And I remember the heat that ran through my body because it was the first time on camera I said out loud like who I prayed to. And I remember that day I get a phone call, and it's people in the industry, and they're like, yeah. So it was one person, but others were with him in that room. And he said, you can't walk that back. And I said, what do you mean? And I'm thinking the Trump stuff,
Mhm.
100%. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, because they hate him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, it's Trump. That's what I was thinking. It's Trump. And he's like, the Jesus thing. And I was like, wait, 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 what? He's like, yeah, you've planted your feet. You know, you can't walk that back. And that's when I realized, okay, so this is not just what I feel is good, bad, or indifferent. This is legit. And I saw people in the industry really sell their soul, you know, change. When I say
Mhm.
change, I mean become something else. I saw someone in the dolls do that. I saw
Mhm.
another very big pop star who was a dear friend for many years. And I'm always praying for her because she grew up knowing Jesus. So I'm like, come on now, you're going to get her, Lord. You're going to get her. I pray for her all the time. Yeah, there were moments where I felt like in the industry, it was the Lord that really compelled me to get out of that group. He told me I wasn't going to survive if I stayed. And in prayer, I was like, I can't, I just feel like I'm being bombarded. Like, I can't, I don't know if I can come out of this. I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. I'm scared. You know, you're working with people that are scary people. Like,
Mhm.
they're not like, oh, we'll just let you walk away and you can sing again. And it's like, no, you won't be able to sing again, you know? And so
Yeah.
is that scary. So I was like, God, I need prophetic instruction on how I'm going to do this without it stopping me from singing ever again.